Sup, motherfuckers? Holmes here. So while lesser me's focused on Sonic's latest foray into comic books, the shiny new IDW variety, I guess it falls on me to pick up the slack and spread awareness on the ones under the publishing of Archie Comics. They can be weird as fuck, but I love them regardless. They're a weird series of books spanning over 2 decades, the early years having especially bizarre stories done by Gallagher and Penders and all that. But they do have some sort of charm to them, at least the ones that aren't completely bland or batshit insane. Okay, time to bring up the graph. There were 2 different kinds of specials in Archie Sonic that could easily be categorized by name. First, there was simply the one-shot specials. These were 48-page long comics that were more common in the 90s, though the Worlds Unite battles and Mega Drive issues fall under its umbrella. The others were the dramatically named Super Sonic Specials, which were more prevalent in the early 2000s and were varying degrees of quality, to put it lightly. In one book, you could be seeing the events before the whole Robotnik takeover, and the Freedom Fighters meeting Tails for the first time in a surprisingly touching story, and in another, there's literal hell on paper. And that stupid Image Comics crossover. God, don't even get me started on that one.
Why are you two smiling at each other like that?
You said it, Linky. Yeah, this can wait its turn, because in this video, I plan on looking at the last of the one-shot specials and the first Sonic Super Special, ignoring Battle Royale because it sucks dick, regardless of it introducing Mammoth Mogul to the world. Now, you might be asking, Holmes, you a sexual can of beef, why these 2 in one video? It beats the shit out of me, but it's more fun that way, alright? Plus, it's a good place to compare how the tone and story structure changed after the Endgame arc came out. So I'm doing what my pizza-obsessed self wouldn't dream of doing, and change up the video structure a little bit. I won't be showing every page of these old books, for obvious reasons, but considering Archie Comics shot themselves in the dick and lost the damn license for this franchise, I reckon it'd be fine for me to share as many pages of these old things as I damn well please. Where else are you going to read them without having to pay $100? Anyhow, it's time I analyse these 2 vastly different specials. Hold on to your butts, mothers and f***ers. In this video I'm gonna get into the Sonic Blast special and Brave New World, and see how these 2 hold up in the present day. Let's start with Sonic Blast, as it's easily the most digestible of the 2. It's partly a loose adaptation of Sonic 3D Blast, or Flicky's Island, though it confusingly shares the name of, and indeed states in print, that it's based on Sonic Blast for the Game Gear, and that makes a chock full of sense. I do have a soft spot for Flicky's Island though. I played a lot of it with my sister when I was a wee babby. Did you guys see the director's cut released by programmer John Burton? I really need to get on that. It sounds like a way better iteration of the game. Back on track, the comic cover is rather nice. It certainly gives a sense of adventure with our heroes soaring through the ring gate with a bunch of flicky birds, with the final zone boss in the background, and the whole thing slapped on a backdrop of flicky-shaped rock carvings. It looks to be a grand epic adventure for all the kids to enjoy, but as Tails' disembodied head would say, this is a total bloody porky pie. Instead, writer Mike Gallagher, ever the pungent master, has created a silly but somehow really enjoyable story of Sonic nipping over to Flicky's Island to stop one of the evil Dr. Robotnik's plots. Let me give a short overview, it won't take long, trust me. Story 1, Sonic Blast, has the villain on location at Flicky's Island, intending to use it for his latest doofy plot and take over the world he's already supposedly conquered. He relays to Snively his plots, who, being the betrayal-obsessed gremlin man that he is, does some behind-the-scenes scheming and tips the Freedom Fighters off. I guess Snively is still salty about things going sour for him during the Death Egg saga, and honestly, who can blame him? If I was stuck to my boss's arse for an undisclosed amount of time, he'd probably lose a few friendship points himself. Oh crap, I forgot Gallagher introduced the idea of Princess Sally and Knuckles having a past relationship. Anything to get the blue blur to express his long-suppressed feelings, I suppose. Though the lad seems to get cold feet when Sally comes in to tease him and lean closer to kiss him. What are you afraid of, dude? You're worried you'll get cooties. Seriously, Gallagher, you're lucky Mawini draws them so good, because otherwise I'd be cringing out of my arsehole right now. Anyway, Sonic anticipates going out to another adventure with Rotor and Tails in the Bathysphere and Sea Fox submarine. Dr. Robotnik finds a Chaos Emerald looking gem and starts to go crystal crazy. And he unleashes a lot of evil roboticized flickies for the good guys to battle. And yeah, that's the basic plot of the game, but now with extra cheese. Sonic and his pals arrive at the Flickies' homeland, and now it's time to free all the birdies, fight the final weapon, here called the Techno Bodyshell Battlesuit, in the second zone of the game, and stop the big bad from mucking everything up on this remote island. Only 2 zones are visited in this adaptation, the second one appearing to be its own dimension for some reason, and having a giant stone guardian that attacks Robotnik instead of letting him control it this time. That's kind of a funny subversion. And Tails and Knuckles' roles as recurring NPCs are either downplayed or cut entirely. Can't say they were missed. At least Tails got to do something instead of stand around and show how brilliantly golden he is. Look at his 2D render. In terms of game accuracy, it's extremely loose. But then again, there wasn't much story to begin with. Just Sonic stopping Dr. Robotnik on a new island setting and all alternate dimension. Only this time, there's a buttload of jokes and cartoonish slapstick. Gallagher was pretty fond of these, and in fact, let's talk about them. And the last time I was graced with gags of this caliber was in the writer's previous story, the Death Egg miniseries. Only there, while it was a big, bombastic adventure that was crammed full of comedic moments, dumb one-off characters, and the corniest of corny dialogue, in Sonic Blast, I'd say it fits way better with this type of storytelling. Instead of being a life-threatening journey from ground to air, ending in a dramatic showdown in a terrifying space station, this story is much smaller in scale, and I don't know about you, but this kind of structure is much more suited for Gallagher's style of fast-paced jokes. It allows me to digest them better. For the jokes themselves, are they particularly funny? Yeah, they are, for 1997. Maybe it's not my style of humour, or it was more funny at the time of publication, but the image of Sonic giving Butnick a wedgie doesn't do much except for maybe a quick laugh. Or the multiple panels and jokes at Dr. Robotnik's expense. There's only so many bloody times I think I can stand Gallagher making one of the only consistent jokes being... He's fat! That's not to say that Sonic Blast is all dumb and all jokes. Artist Mawini makes a couple of pages really engaging. I love the splash page of Sonic zipping around and destroying the battlesuit in its one appearance, especially with all the different things you can look at and how it's styled like the pseudo 3D look of the game. And the hero and villain get into a lot of zany, if somewhat repetitive shenanigans. Though there were 2 standout moments when Sonic does the whole, if I do this thing that breaks the laws of physics, I can save the day, or whatever. It was dumb the first time, and it's still dumb later. Newsflash, arsehole, highlighting that the hero is nigh invincible is just gonna make me not care about him more. The narrative is very cartoonish, and its portrayal of Dr. Robotnik is definitely more comparable to his Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog self for his immature mannerisms and especially his childish outbursts at the end, right down to a variation of his iconic line. Though I'll admit, it was neat getting to see the big bad go toe-to-toe with the blue blur in a fight thankfully less corny than the one in the Death Egg saga. Though I can't say I was expecting Robotnik to have gadgets at hand, such as an arm laser, an electric nose just in case the two have a glaring session, and a cape that he can control at will. Is that a Doctor Strange reference? Well, shit, it just might be. All in all, Mawini's artwork really saves this story from being extremely bland. If it was Manic on pencils, I probably would have f***ing collapsed and fell into a coma for 8 years. Oh, speaking of Dave Manic's art, I guess I should address the other 2 stories in this one-shot special, though keep in mind they are extremely short. One of them isn't even a story, but the comic certainly treats it as such, so what you gonna do? The Tough Awards, which stands for the Ultimate Freedom Fighter, is primarily an excuse for more puns. Look at them lips! It's totally harmless, and at the end Sally makes the smart decision to pull the plug on the whole thing. I think this was just made to fill up space, so I won't waste any more time on it. Moving the hell on. The last story, Bugged Bunny featuring Bunny Rabbit, is really something. It's another aimless gag fest involving Dr. Robotnik and Snively sneaking through the forest in silly plant disguises and finding the titular bunny. They don't have the intention to just off her then and there. Instead, they plant a tracking device on her butt and plan to follow her back home and discover the good guy's hideout. What ensues is them tailing her through the foliage and trees, with Robotnik getting wrecked by nature and wildlife in increasingly ridiculous ways. It comes to a head when Bunny accidentally drops the tracking device and mistakes it for a part of her circuitry, but then a gopher just goes in and eats it, and digs underground. Ooh, goodbye. Bunny doesn't seem to be bothered by it, and the special ends with the bad guys and a bunch of swap bots digging for the tracking device in the middle of nowhere. Womp womp. These two stories were written by Angelo DeCesare, who seems to enjoy cramming in puns and visual slapstick as much as the other writers at the time. My goody self has gone on record in saying that this dude is one of the most underrated writers on the comic, for how little his contributions were in this long-running series, and I'll have to agree with him. While DeCesare's style is almost a facsimile of Gallagher's at times, don't forget he was the reason issues 20 and 23 were so above average. He sometimes went above and beyond with his stories, at least compared to the crap the other guys wrote, and number 23's I feel holds up the most. Not to mention, he introduced the Nerbs, those weird mole guys who would later make a comeback in that one issue of Sonic Universe and never appear again. DeCesare's writing duties on Sonic Blast were one of his last contributions to this book, which is honestly sad. Especially considering that Bugged Bunny isn't one of his better ones, so his writing legacy sadly doesn't leave much impact. I like the art in this story. Not so much for Manic's penciling, but Bill Grossman's vibrant colours add a lot to this one. It's really pretty to look at. The character writing kind of sucks, however. Not sure why Bunny would nap in the middle of the Great Forest and not in her home back in Knothole, nor why she just not think much of the device on her that she ought to know is not one of her own, or why Robotnik is cool with hiding in the forest even though a previous DeCesare story stated that he has a pathological fear of dense nature. You know what they should have done? Have Bunny be aware of these two bozos loudly chasing her through the open forest, catch wind of their schemes, and purposely give them the slip and throw the tracker into the gopher's mouth. It might be just as basic as the given narrative, but hey, it's better than her just going, "Oh, what's that? A part of me just fell off? Ah, no worries, little fella. Go ahead with a part of my robotic limbs in your belly, you f***ing fiend." Well, that was a lot of fun. They thankfully don't make Sonic comics like that anymore, but you know what they replace the zaniness with the coming of new talent and writers? Oh, just a lot of family drama, dated sci-fi, and badly written love triangles. Yep, it's time for the Penders book now. Archie Sonic Super Special Issue Number 2, or Brave New World after the name of its story. I find it hilarious that the frontispiece touts that Sonic and his pals are facing new problems and new threats, when most of the conflict in this special are just things we've seen before. I do kind of like the colouring here, it really tries to add to the title's grandiose name, and the cover illustration is also fittingly epic looking. Patrick Spaziente did the art, while Penders did the unbearable airbrushing in lieu to how he did the SatAM DVD box art. Both of them have a dated 90s feel to them, but I can't help but love it. All except for Tails' goddamn mouth there. It looks like he just sucked on a raw lemon before they took a snapshot. Now, let us enter the world of the blue! Though it looks very brown to me. I guess to keep readers up to speed, Penders felt like bringing up the backstory again. It goes over the whole Mobians fighting overlanders in the Great War, Dr. Robotnik betraying King Max and taking over, turning everyone into marketable plushies, and leaving groups like the Freedom Fighters to toil away and plan their counterattack, which they did in Endgame. Yeah, I guess you can consider this special as a sort of immediate follow-up to the events of Endgame. It starts immediately where the events left off, and it's written by the same guy who puts narration in every fucking panel. I love this splash page though, it's honestly my favourite thing in the entire special, showing off the sense of scale with hints of nervous relief like the big bad has been killed, leaving his city abandoned in the aftermath. Plus, we get a closer look at that iconic building we keep seeing in overviews of the city. So that's nice. In a joint operation of the Knothole and Substitute Freedom Fighters, along with Rebel Underground and Hershey Cat for some reason, the good guys all arrive at the remains of the Royal Palace in Robotropolis to look for any signs of life and potential people to save. For sure, they find many things, and I legit admire Pender's art on the buildings and familiar locales the Freedom Fighters stumble upon. But I totally despise how the characters are drawn, both human and Mobians alike. They are not so bad during the off time between action pieces or in crowd shots, but whenever there's any action involved, it looks beyond sloppy. Everyone's mouths get all distorted when they don't have the artist's traditional doll-like eyes and half-closed eyelids. Just a thing for you guys to know before going in, the character art gets pretty shitty. Tensions seem to be high with Sonic and Jeffrey St. John, both of them acting pretty childish in their romantic competition for Sally's hand, like they were way back in issue 31, and boy, the callbacks are coming at them fast. Here's a Dynamac, one of those Transformers knockoffs that Sonic and Jeff fought before. Sonic's able to distract the thing with his speedy boy powers, and Rotor and Sally discover the real culprit behind this ambush, a badly drawn Snively. Into the net with you, fool! With the robot defeated, Sally does a bit of reflecting as she looks around her former home and is drawn to tears by how mucked up it's become, it being nothing more than a grungy old storage room now. Trust me, Sally goes through a lot in this special, what with her father the king still being a total jerk despite being half crystallized. I guess some things never change. I hate how they wrote King Max in this comic. The king is such a ruthless leader in this special, ranting to Jeffrey over his 90s laptop computer that Sonic's Uncle Chuck is a dangerous radical and must not be trusted. St. John is initially skeptical of the paranoid king's demands, but he goes through with it anyway because he's so loyal, even if he knows it goes against his love interest's wishes. Something tells me this is going to lead to yet another dick measuring contest with Sonic, and they're going to fight, and yep, spoke too soon. Handy that Sally is here to break them up from fighting again, eh? While going about his duties and packing up all of his spy network equipment, Uncle Chuck is shown to be visited by a bunch of roboticized Mobians, all of them not mindless robots and possessing free will thanks to the Ultimate Annihilator's plot-changing effects. It seems, to Uncle Chuck's knowledge, they have been hiding down here in secret from everyone else. I guess to keep the families from knowing that their relatives are stuck as Robians, including Sonic's parents. Yeah, they're here, making their debut in the comic, and were even sneakily foreshadowed in the opening flashback. Uncle Chuck is especially worried about Sonic knowing that he kept these two under wraps. It's all very thought-provoking stuff. But enough of all that nonsense, get a load of these SWAT-bots all walking in single file, as noticed by Tails and his stupid f***ing comb-over. Seriously, get a hairstylist, you freak. The SWAT-bots don't seem to care that they're there, but it does lead the pair to a couple of substitute freedom fighters calling for help, and Jesus Christ, Arlo Armadillo, what the hell are you doing? It's becoming a recurring character trait that the heroes find you like this. It only hurts when I laugh. Lol, okay, hang in there, buddy. Surprise! It's Uncle Chuck and the Robians who make sure the dude is alright. And here is where Sonic is confronted with the truth. Sonic, your parents are shiny motherfuckers. Sonic, being the teenager that he is rightfully mad at his uncle for keeping their existence a secret, which I kind of don't care about because the comic springs it on us just as suddenly. And he runs off in the most melodramatic fashion and yet no hint of sadness. Look at this stupid ass page. I like the Robotropolis backdrop, but everything else looks extremely janky. And Sonic looks... No, wait, no, that's not Ken Pender's drawing, that's Spaziente's. You can tell because it looks better. How come they got him to only draw this one Sonic pose in the entire special? It sticks out like a sore thumb. Either he wasn't allowed to draw the full illustrations on Pender's insistence, or the original artist drew him so bad that they brought him back just to make a better pose for Sonic looking depressed. On the subject of writing, as much shit as I give Penders for his tragically boring stories and characterizations, I do like that this special focuses on themes of Robians, and Tails giving Sonic a heart-to-heart on the city's outskirts is actually a touching moment shared between the two friends. We get very little of this in the comic's early years, and I'm honestly surprised that this had come from Penders of all people, who usually sucks at emotional dialogue. A good job, Penders, you actually made a moving scene, but that doesn't excuse the rest of this damn story we've yet to go through. We are nearing the end, and there hasn't been any conflict in a while, so what do you think should happen? Do you think A, the story should come to a close right here and now, save all this bullcrap for later? B, have Sonic and Jeffrey get into a fight for no reason except to make the special go on longer, with no resolution of any of the family-related plots involved? Or C, you should subscribe to RobotnikHolmes and click the bell icon to get proper updates on my content. Nah, it's B in this case. The special comes to a close after Jeffrey makes some moves on Sally, even though she does not reciprocate and says to his face that her heart belongs to Sonic. And the two get into a page-long punch-out, halted only by Sally's irritated yelling and a hose being sprayed at them, and both being forced to set aside their differences for the time being. Watch it only last for 2 issues. The Robians decide to migrate to their own colony, them not feeling the public is ready for their kind to coexist, and a mysterious ship is watched as it leaves the reclaimed Robotropolis, and we see a fun little reincorporation of the city's sign having been vandalised to reflect the times. Jeffrey is left with Snively in Rebel Underground custody in the Devil's Gulag, locked away in a cell close to a Drago wolf-looking guy, as he narrates that he will soon break out and have his revenge. So ends the tale of Brave New World, and honestly, as much as it acted as closure for Endgame, it didn't do a great job at it. This special mostly just gave us more of the same stuff we're used to seeing, especially from Pender's previous stories. The Dynamac fight, Sonic and Jeffrey butting heads, King Max being an abusive dickhole and forcing Jeffrey to do his bidding, the substitute freedom fighters needing help for the 100th time. We've seen it all before, and most of it came off as useless filler for this 48-page special. Cut all that shit out and what do you get? A regular length issue, probably. I think they handled the beginning and the Robian subplot way better. The Sonic running away from his robo-parents with invisible tears could have been drawn better, but everything from how Uncle Chuck dealt with hiding the Robians from the rest of Knothole, to how the peeps in question reconsidered living with the rest of Mobian kind was handled near excellently. Not sure about the strange parallels to real-life oppression, but I can appreciate what stories they were trying to tell here. I adored the entirety of the first few pages, not counting the shitty flashbacks, because the hero's coming to terms with just how much of the city has changed since the dictator turned it into a polluted mess is such a poignant thought. How do these guys, who once lived here, feel about their home now that they can properly take it in without being chased by robots and risk turning into one? It still could have been handled a little bit better though. What, you have like 20 characters here and not one of them has anything to say specifically? Like, I don't know, Rota saying, "Hey, that's my toilet." Anything would have been better than nothing. At least Sally got some moments where she became flooded with emotion upon seeing her old place. Jesus, she sure does cry a lot in this comic. And that's one thing that's ironically missing from most of this seemingly profound story. Feeling. The art was pretty terrible, not gonna lie. It really doesn't help win this special any favours, nor do the entire pages of either repetitive narration, characters doing menial things, or hell, both of them at once. Sadly, for the 1 or 2 things I respect about this issue of the Sonic Super Special, the bad points really creep up the deeper you go into it, which was a damn shame because there was a lot of potential here. Like, how can you go wrong with what is essentially Endgame the Aftermath? I guess it's the most we can expect from a hack writer who's far past his prime, but I'll leave the Penders ribbing to my lesser self. What's he doing now? Suing Paramount because they gave Knuckles a father in the movie? What a
fucking idiot.
Sonic Blast was, forgive the shitty pun, kind of a blast. I had a bit of fun reading these, from the characters' silly antics to the plots that, while they don't take themselves seriously, are still enjoyable in a chaotic, light-hearted way. As what could be considered writer DeCesare's swan song, it was very above average, so it gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Brave New World, on the opposite end of the scale, was kind of below average, both as a follow-up to Endgame and as a character-driven drama. Penders isn't winning any awards over this, so I think I'll award this thing a 5 out of 10. Do better. In the next Archie Sonic video I'll be looking at issues that take place after Endgame, so issues number 51 and onward. Guess we'll see what the lads at Archie Comics did after their main villain got killed off. Thank you very much for watching. Wait, Anti-Holmes. No, thank you very much for not watching, and I won't see you in the next video. Being an evil doppelganger is hard.